The 7-Ups, a holy grail of 70s crime film, action film, extravaganza. An incredible movie. I mean, I just watched it recently. I'd had it in the queue. It had been in the queue for, like, literally years. And I always kind of passed it by. Directed by Phil D'Antoni. I think it's the only film directed by producer Phil D'Antoni, as far as I know. Phil D'Antoni, who's the producer of Bullet and The French Connection. He produced and directed. He directed The 7-Ups, which is kind of a film following in the tradition of The French Connection, a gritty 70s New York crime thriller. New York is falling apart, and this is the story of the 7-Ups. Is from Sonny Grosso, who is one of the cops with Eddie Egan and Sonny Grosso, who were the models for the French Connection cops. And so this is the story from, and Sonny even has a little small role in the film. In the early on the film, he's the courier. Once you know who Sonny Grosso is and what he looks like, he shows up in all of these movies. So the 7-Ups. A simple plot, an elite group of New York cops led by Roy Scheider. They call them the 7-Ups because they deal with crimes where if they get convicted, the guys are getting 7 years and up. 7-Ups, this little small group of New York cops, the 7-Ups, get wrapped up in this convoluted underworld kidnapping scheme. And along the way, we meet all of these incredible New York actors. Tony LoBianco, Joe Spinell shows up for a little tiny role, and crazy Richard Lynch shows up and is a delight. He was a delight in any movie that he was in. Crazy Richard Lynch. So, I've read some comments and I've seen some other videos where people talk about how this movie is like slow or boring, and I don't get that. I thought for me throughout the film it was this taut crime. I mean, just like I was on the edge of my seat throughout the entire movie. There wasn't really a slow part. I guess it's slow if you're into superheroes and robots and things exploding every 5 seconds. But the film does build the beginning while we build the scenario, the scene. But I was really surprised from the very beginning how many action set pieces there are throughout the film. Like, usually a movie will build up to like one primary action set pieces. And in the 7-Ups, there are all these little action set pieces, and I love how they're so intricate. Like, it's a police stakeout, and there's something going down in this area, and then there's something going down here and there, and there's like 4 or 5 of these in the film. There's kind of parallel actions. There's an action of a group of one actors or characters in one area of the scene that's affecting the actors in a different area in this real intricate way. And throughout the film, there's this kind of this idea of these parallel actions, of these different actions in different areas affecting. I mean, even like, there's one scene where Roy Scheider gets angry and he beats a window, and the people inside are like, "Oh, what happened?" Again, this kind of parallel action, and these intricate action scenes are built up throughout the film. Really, I mean, so it's not like we're building character, but it's not just like we're two people in a room talking. There's only really a few two people in a room talking, like that. I mean, it's great. You got Roy Scheider as the lead, and Roy Scheider, one of the great 70s lead actors, a leading man. Jaws, the 7-Ups, Sorcerers, need I say more? And he's great in this film. He does his usual crime. He's just such a he's such he has a charisma to him, and he does have elements of a lead actor. He can pull it off. I mean, it's obvious he's somewhere between he's not a pretty boy, but then he's got the acting chops, and he has the charisma to pull off a lead actor. So he's almost he can't really, he's not like a Philip Seymour Hoffman. He can't sink into the mire, into the background. But then he's not a Tom Cruise, So he's one of those. He's just one of those kind of actors who could only kind of come to prominence in the wonderful world of 70s film, and I think we're all richer because of it. Those roles, Brody and the 7-Ups, all of these films, incredible. And he does his thing where there's always, like, it seems like, like contractually, Roy Scheider there has to be a scene where he gets beaten up or he gets hurt, and he's like, Roy Scheider always had, he had the talent he always had the talent to play like a bloated face. His face had to be screwed up, or a car crash. He always had to get in a car crash, and he's like walking like sideways, and his face looks all swollen. You had to do that like once a Roy Scheider film. He has to look screwed up. He has to look swollen or screwed up or messed up, and he does it in this film, and he does the kind of I'm swollen, I'm in a car crash thing. He does it really well, very much like Sorcerer in a way. But speaking of car crashes and car chases, Phil D'Antoni was the producer. He was, legendary for the car chase in Bullet, that subway train chase, car chase in The French Connection, and so we got to have another car chase in this movie. And the car chase in this film is different. It's a lot more realistic. It's taking, realistic vehicles, putting them not on just like an empty road or an empty highway, just empty stretches of road. This car chase is like, imagine if you were in downtown traffic and you had all of these cars around you, and you've got to navigate them like pieces of like chess pieces. You've got to, and you're going, sometimes this car chase will go to 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, 70, 80. Sometimes it'll be 30 or 40. You're winding through these roads and jumping these hills and things and doing, but it's a very kind of low speed energy car chase, which is really sold by the expressions of Roy Scheider, who's angry and going for it, and then the expressions of Richard Lynch, who is being driven. He's not even driving, but he's like driven. And there'll be times when the guy driving Richard Lynch is like running around, is like driving, going crazy, and Richard Lynch will go, there's great wonderful shots, and then there's a moment in the car chase where Richard Lynch is like, they think they're going to get away, and they're on the road to getting away, and Richard Lynch looks over at Roy Scheider and goes, yeah, it's like the car chase is like in that car being chased, it's like the driver is like the real driver, and like Richard Lynch is like the designated actor in the car chase. It's funny, but it works. It does really work. I mean, the film is played off. The scene rather is played off on the expressions of Richard Lynch, and then Roy Scheider just going nuts. It's a very good, and I love the toward the end of the car chase. There's this little moment here, which you'll know it. There's a few little moments. It's just, this movie's so good. I feel like I don't want to spoil it, And then the very end, where the crash, is really spine tingling, really incredible. I'd read something that was based on the whole Jane Mansfield car crash. I don't know if that's true, but Oh man, and the soundtrack by Don Ellis, who had done that soundtrack for the French Connection, which is really kind of percussive, and at times with really unusual instrumentation and bows and string instruments going doing these kind of eerie kind of like it's music that could be that could work really well inside a horror movie. This sense of dread and just foreboding, eerie atmosphere. He does it like 10 times more strident and atmospheric. And I mean, the French Connection was one thing, but you know, the 7-Ups was even more so that thing, and just the kind of eerie instrumentation. And I mean, there are some sequences like the car wash scenes, which are driven almost entirely by this music. And you're like, what's going to happen? What's going on? It's really, 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 really good. And Ooh, great. Joe Spinell is in it. Joe Spinell has a little part, a small yet pivotal role, and I don't really see this film talked about much in the filmography of Joe Spinell, but he does show up. I think the most unrealistic element in this film is Joe Spinell's house. Because Joe Spinell, Joe Spinell's let off at his house at the very end of the film, and it looks like, he has very modern furnishing, he has nice furnishing, and it's all, and it's like that character would live in like a little rat-infested apartment with cardboard walls. There's no way that dude would live in that. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's his parents' house. I don't know. Maybe I was always, he's walking in. It's like, this has got to be his friend's house, or there's got to be something going on here. But he's great. He's great in the film. It's Joe Spinell, and in the early 70s, a little thinner, younger Joe Spinell we get to see in this movie, and so that's kind of a change of speed. That's kind of interesting. So a good movie that follows in the tradition of the French Connection. It has a lot of the same actors, same writers, same people, same crew, a lot of the same atmosphere, that gritty atmosphere, but I think it's a little less of the documentary realism. To me, it feels like a little more the whole plot. This kidnapping, this extortion, these coppers. It feels like more of a classic Hollywood gangster crime film in a way, told in the 70s milieu. It feels like. I mean, imagine if you gave a director from the 40s and 50s, imagine if you gave a hard-boiled, crime director, a Hollywood crime director, just off the top of my head, Sam Fuller. Imagine if you gave Sam Fuller, you put him in the 70s and you're like, hey, there's this new French Connection movie, go ahead and make a movie kind of like that. But, do it with a traditional, more of a classic Hollywood plot. That's, to me, what the 7-Ups is about. It's a simple plot, it's a simple premise, but there's, all of these little interwinding little things, but it's very straightforward and easy to follow, good film, a few nice little twists and turns, some wonderful action, and some, incredible actors. Really, I guess the two big actors in the film are Richard Lynch and Roy Scheider, I guess, in modern era. You really remember those guys. So, and it's just out on Twilight Time. The Blu-ray is out on Twilight Time. I haven't gone through the entire Blu-ray. I bought it on DVD a long time ago, but a lot of extras. And it's out in the UK as well on Blu-ray, I believe. A lot of extras, a lot of interviews, a lot of lot of stuff going on here, but a cool movie. Whether you see it on the special edition or through a bare bones DVD, it's a movie that however you check it out, I suggest you check it out if you like 70s crime films, because it's kind of a movie that's people talk about it, but it's very little seen, and yeah, it's worth seeing.